starting with CNN's Abby Phillip, who sat down with fired MSNBC host Joy Reid to claim that Conservatives live in their own information bubble, suggesting that her job is to fight conspiracy theories.
Conservatives are living in a completely different information world than liberals. And breaking that down needs to be done. Because when you don't ever even hear the facts, it's hard to even know that you're wrong. And that happens a lot. I mean, half of my job sometimes is knowing what the latest conspiracy is, so that if it comes up, I'm ready to address it. Because it happens a lot where people don't even know that what they're saying or what they've seen and believe is not true. And so that happens a lot, and I don't come away from that saying, what's the point of this? People are just saying false things. I think that one time that person brings up something that is debunked and false, and I debunk it at the table, might be the very first time that someone out there has heard an alternative point of view.
It is incredible that Abby said that with a straight face to Joy Reid, the woman who's compared Donald Trump to Hitler, who described Kamala Harris's election campaign as flawless, but actually peddled a very sick and deranged conspiracy theory that Trump's assassination attempt in Butler was staged.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and presidential candidate. We know almost nothing.
Joining us now is Ollie London, author and media personality. Ollie, it's wonderful to see you again. We have some exciting personal news of yours to get into in a moment. But firstly, can I please get your reaction to CNN's Abby Phillip there speaking to Joy Reid? I mean, there's certainly a reason that CNN is losing its audience when you've got people like Abby just dismissing Conservatives, suggesting that, of course, she knows better than all of them. And Joy Reid, I mean, there's a reason she was sacked too from MSNBC, because she's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's very ironic that Abby Phillips chose to go on Joy Reid's podcast, and Joy Reid was axed from MSNBC amid dwindling views, amid her kind of outbursts on air and spreading kind of untruths. So interesting that Abby Phillips would then discuss Conservatives peddling conspiracy theories and saying that they don't understand facts, when, Abby Phillips, her own show, is one of the few CNN shows that does actually have conservative commentators on, like Scott Jennings, who does a phenomenal job fact-checking her guests, who, tend to get a little bit angry on air, and, he just comes with the facts. So it's kind of ironic that she would say that, considering she does have conservative guests on her show. And, Joy Reid is somebody that I think that just seems to be angry all the time, and she spouts these conspiracy theories like President Trump's assassination attempt at Butler, Pennsylvania, and, other things as well in terms of Black Lives Matter advocacy. And, she's not a credible source. Many people look at her almost as a joke. She was axed from MSNBC. She wasn't doing a good job there. President Trump has called her out before. Any Conservatives have called her out. So I think, Abby Phillips is someone that is a journalist that does work with conservative commentators, should know better that, people like Scott Jennings on her show always comes armed with the facts, and he always, kind of fact checks the liberals on her show.
And that's what makes it worth watching, really, is when Scott Jennings brings out the receipts and you see the lefties just go into meltdown during those panel segments. But Ollie, let's talk about your journey with faith, because 3 years ago you became a Christian and you were just recently baptised in the Jordan River. Can you talk to us about that experience, what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, so 3 years ago, I started discovering faith and became Christian, decided to give myself to God and try and turn my life around. I was going through an identity crisis back then. So finding faith helped me get through that. And just been on the 3rd anniversary to the River Jordan in the Sea of Galilee in Israel to get baptized on the 3rd anniversary. And it was an incredibly special thing. I visited some of the holy sites in Israel where Jesus had the Last Supper. I walked down the Mount of Olives where, Jesus famously walked on Palm Sunday, and visited the Church of the Holy Sepulchre where Jesus was believed to have been crucified. And such a surreal experience. So to get baptized in the very waters where John the Baptist actually baptized Jesus himself and their disciples was a truly, truly special thing. And, I think Israel is a place where, a lot of people don't realize this. There are so many people living in harmony. There's 2 million Muslim Arab Israeli citizens that live in harmony. That's 20% of the population. You have the Druze community, you have the Christian community, which is growing in Israel, and of course the Jewish community. So it's a place that is very important to so many different faiths. And for anyone that's, Christian or another faith, going to Israel is a very special experience because you get to visit all these places that were mentioned in the Bible. I went to Magdalena, where Mary Magdalene was born, saw the home of her location where she was born, and visited the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and actually prayed on the site where Jesus was crucified. And it's a very, very powerful experience. So I really do, encourage Christians to go on a pilgrimage to Israel to support the people there. They've had a hard time with the economy the past 2 years, and tourism is a very big industry there. So I think it's very important for people to go and do a pilgrimage and to discover yourself as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I went to Israel last year and it was absolutely life-changing. I want to get your thoughts on what we often hear from Hollywood celebrities. I mean, often there's a lot of Trump derangement syndrome when we hear from woke Hollywood lefties, and a lot of political opinions, many using social media or if they're accepting an award to promote a message such as Free Palestine. Yet many celebrities seem to be silent about what's happening in Sudan and Nigeria with Christians being slaughtered, Ollie.
Yeah, I mean, when Trump actually brokered the Gaza peace deal, you had pretty much crickets and silence from Hollywood celebrities and TDS sufferers like Rosie O'Donnell, Cynthia Nixon, all these people that are obsessed with talking about Trump. Suddenly they're silent when he actually brokers the deal to get the hostages out. So that kind of speaks volumes. And then the fact that there's no Hollywood celebrities speaking up about what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in Nigeria, with the only exception being Nicki Minaj, who has been very outspoken about this. President Trump actually praised her on Truth Social. And, she has received a lot of praise from Christians for speaking up for those in Nigeria. But she's also received backlash from the kind of liberals that are the TDS sufferers. But President Trump is the only person that has actually said that he is considering taking action in Nigeria to fix this. He's warned the Nigerian government to take action against persecution, the burning of churches, the slaughtering of Christians. So it does speak volumes when you have people like Rosie O'Donnell, who literally devotes her life. She fled the US, and all day, every day, she's making 10-minute TikToks bashing Trump, yet she's silent on the fact that he was able to broker the ceasefire deal. She doesn't give him credit. And she's silent on, of course, what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in Nigeria. And like I said, Nicki Minaj is pretty much the only celebrity that's actually spoken up.
That's right, and credit to Nicki Minaj, but as you say, one of the only celebrities that's actually speaking out about this. Look, Ollie, before I let you go, I want to talk to you about the issue of women's safety, which seems to be still a fight in America, a fight here in Australia. American singer Tish Hyman has been in the headlines after confronting a biological man who repeatedly entered a women's locker room at her LA gym, and the singer then raised this with a California state senator at a town hall meeting. And just look at how this conversation went.
Senator Weiner, as the only black lesbian here, can I please ask you a question, because I flew here to do that? Yeah. Okay. As a lesbian woman who was attacked in the women's locker room at Gold's Gym this week by a self-identifying trans woman with a documented history of domestic violence, I'm deeply concerned about women's safety in female-only spaces. What would you say to women who are seeking assurance that their safety will be protected from men who, by California law, can self-ID as women in women-only spaces, sir? Please tell me.
Yeah, so we want, everyone to be safe, and we also know that, we have trans people, both men and women, who are men and women.
I mean, the conversation continues, but it's just so backwards. I mean, it's a serious issue when it comes to women's safety. Women are being let down.
Yeah, I mean, this brave woman, Tish Hyman, was at a Gold's Gym in Beverly Hills, and she was horrified when she was undressing in the locker room, and this biological male that identifies as a woman walked in. And she actually confronted him, and she was clearly very upset in the video. And, you know, they had an altercation, and, you know, she has been very outspoken about this. The transgender male actually went on TMZ Live and said he has a right to go in the women's locker room because he's felt this way for his whole life. But, you know, it's wrong. And Senator Scott Wiener has been behind pushing very radical left LGBTQI laws in the California State Senate that are very much anti-women. So he's, you know, the last person that's going to really listen to what she's saying and help. But good on her for speaking up and trying to get this message across, because, you know, it does take guts for a woman to speak up, especially with the backlash from trans activists and the targeting from them. So, you know, good on her for speaking up.
100%. Ollie London, author and media personality, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour and speaking to us about your experience in Israel. We really appreciate it.
Real pleasure. Thank you.